Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a true masterclass dedicated to a plant that flat out refuses to be ignored, the Neon Pothos. If you've ever felt like your space was just kind of missing a certain vibrancy, well, this is the plant that acts as a bright, virtually unkillable burst of energy for absolutely any room. We're going to break down the science of its care, from the basic foundations of just keeping it alive, all the way up to expert techniques for infinite propagation.
Okay, let's dive right into the syllabus. We're covering a lot of ground today. First, we'll meet the biological highlighter. 2. Mastering the glow. 3. Essential everyday care. 4. Pruning and propagating. 5. Tackling pests and problems, and we'll wrap it up with some pro tips.
All right, Section 1. Meet the biological highlighter.
So let's get to know the absolute energetic powerhouse that is the Epipremnum aureum neon. This plant doesn't just survive, it has this sheer, stubborn determination to push through some of the absolute harshest indoor conditions. Seriously, it's famous for staying alive in those depressing, windowless break rooms where most plants would just immediately give up. It has this incredibly tough, resilient spirit, but it's wrapped up in a shockingly bright exterior. I absolutely love this description. A lamp that runs on water. Because honestly, with its electric shock of chartreuse-yellow, placing this plant in a dark corner gives you an instant burst of brightness without even needing an electrical outlet. It's an incredible tool for interior design. It offers this dramatic, eye-catching contrast against dark walls, think charcoal or navy, or when you plant it in deep dark pots where that yellow foliage can just truly pop.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering the Neon Glow.
Now, this is arguably the most critical aspect of caring for the Neon Pothos. We have to understand exactly how and why it keeps that signature, shocking color. Because if we get this wrong, the plant literally loses its entire unique appeal, and the science behind the glow is actually fascinating. You see, the neon color is technically an unstable chlorophyll mutation. The plant lacks the dense, dark green pigment that you'd find in a standard plant. So in highlight, the plant gets plenty of energy, meaning it can afford to be kind of inefficient and keep its brilliant chartreuse color. But in low light, it panics. It goes straight into survival mode and starts producing sunblock, that dense, dark green chlorophyll, just to capture every single scarce photon it can find. Basically, if you don't give it enough bright, indirect light, your glowing neon plant is going to revert into a standard dark green pothos.
Now, what's really interesting here is the identity crisis this plant constantly faces in nurseries. You will so often see the philodendron lemon lime mislabeled as a neon pothos, but they are entirely different plants. Thankfully, you can spot the difference really easily through touch and shape. The Neon Pothos has a waxy, glossy, and just slightly bumpy texture with these asymmetrical spade-shaped leaves. The philodendron, on the other hand, is completely matte. It's velvety smooth with really broad, dramatic heart shapes. And you'll see these little sheaths on its new stems. Knowing this little trick totally saves you from accidentally buying a wrong plant.
Okay, Section 3. Essential everyday care.
This is where we shift our masterclass into the daily grind. And the great news is, the Neon Pothos has a dramatic but incredibly helpful communication style, especially when it comes to telling you exactly when it's time to pull out the watering can. Honestly, you should completely ignore a strict watering schedule. Just toss it out. Instead, rely on the dramatic droop and tactile sensory cues. Use what we call the squeeze test. If the leaf is firm, cool, and rigid, do not water it. But if it feels soft, pliable, and folds easily like a warm taco shell, it is definitely thirsty. And when you do water, drench the soil completely until it flows out the bottom. But never, ever let the pot sit in standing water.
Of course, watering is literally only half the equation, right? Drainage is the other. Neon pothos roots need oxygen just as much as they need moisture. So to prevent suffocation and root rot, you absolutely need a chunky texture in your soil. A perfect DIY mix for this is 60% high-quality potting soil, 30% perlite or pumice for that vital aeration, and 10% orchid bark to kind of simulate the natural forest floor. And a quick but super important warning, never use heavy outdoor garden or topsoil indoors. It will instantly suffocate your plant, no exceptions.
Let's talk climate and fuel. Hailing all the way from French Polynesia, this plant loves it warm. We're talking ideally between 70 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The ultimate danger zone for it is a cold draft dropping below 55 degrees. That will cause irreversible black spots in the leaves, which we definitely don't want. While it strongly prefers 50 to 70% humidity if you want those massive leaves, it easily tolerates dry indoor air at around 30%. As for fuel, you'll want to use a nitrogen-focused fertilizer in the spring and summer to really support those stunning yellow leaves. Remember, this plant isn't going to bloom indoors, so all its energy is going straight to the foliage. And whatever you do, always remember to stop feeding it in the winter so you avoid burning the roots.
Next up, Section 4, Pruning and Infinite Propagation.
This is where you graduate to the next stage of plant parenthood. We're going to look at how to tame a wild, sprawling vine, and even more excitingly, how to create endless clones. 10+ feet. That is the massive, fast-growing potential of these vines, especially when you give them a moss pole to climb. The act of climbing actually triggers hormones that make the leaves grow exponentially larger. But there's a catch. You have to watch out for the dreaded baldness problem. If you just leave it to hang and grow as a single leggy string, the vine will very often lose all its base leaves. That leaves you with a really sad, bald-looking stem near the soil.
So how exactly do we fix that baldness while simultaneously multiplying our collection? Well, by pruning the vine just above a node, you're actually forcing the mother plant to branch out and become much bushier. Then you take that cutting you just made, trim off the bottom leaf, and literally just stick the node in water. Seriously, in just 7 to 10 days, roots are going to explode from that stem. It's an almost foolproof cloning method that lets you create 10 lush plants out of just one single vine.
All right, Section 5. Troubleshooting pests and problems.
Look, even the toughest plants face challenges, right? And the bright, electric leaves of the Neon Pothos unfortunately act as a bit of a beacon for certain unwanted guests. But don't worry, we're your definitive plant coach here to help diagnose and treat these issues. Let's break down these sap-sucking enemies drawn to your plant. First, if you see white, fluffy cotton spots tucked right where the leaf meets the stem, you've got mealybugs. Treat those with a strong shower blast or insecticidal soap. Scale, on the other hand, looks like hard brown bumps on the stems. For those, granular systemic insecticides mixed right into the soil are your best bet. Finally, spider mites. They leave this really fine webbing and tiny specks on the undersides of leaves, especially when the air is dry. A routine spray of neem oil every 5 to 7 days will clear them right out.
Beyond the creepy crawlies, the leaves themselves are actually communicating with you when your care routine is a bit off. If you start seeing crispy brown edges, it usually means your watering is too erratic, like you're letting it dry to the bone and then completely drowning it. Or your air is just way too dry. But you really need to beware of mushy yellow leaves. Now, a single old leaf turning yellow near the soil, that's just natural aging. But sudden, widespread, mushy yellowing all across the vine, that is a dire, flashing warning sign of overwatering and root rot.
Finally, we've made it to Section 6, Pro Tips for Thriving.
Okay, we've covered survival, we've covered maintenance, and we've covered problem solving. Now we enter the final expert level of this masterclass to truly elevate your routine and push your Neon Pothos to its absolute peak. Here are your rapid-fire expert tips. First up, if you happen to have a freshwater aquarium, use that dirty water during your tank changes to water your plant. It is packed with a massive biological nitrogen boost. Second, rotate your pot a quarter turn every single week. This prevents the vine from growing entirely lopsided toward the nearest light source. Third, dust your leaves monthly. Dust literally blocks light, and remember, this plant needs every single photon it can get. Finally, my favorite trick, if you have a bare vine, just loop it back onto the soil and pin the node down with a bobby pin. It will root directly into the soil, perfectly mimicking how the plant naturally spreads across the forest floor. So, this brings us to the end of our explainer, and I have to leave you with one final thought. Are you ready to let this biological highlighter transform your darkest corners into a thriving neon jungle? You now have the complete blueprint, from mixing the perfect chunky soil to reading that dramatic droop, forcing brilliant color through proper light management, and cloning your way to an endless indoor garden. Take these steps, apply the science, and just watch your space completely light up. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and hey, happy growing!